Observer alert. I usually keep the alerts like this to the point, which is exactly what we're going to do tonight. We have two new comets coming into our sky. So I'm going to do a little bit of a preview. One of them, please, I should be pretty good. So we're going to be discussing the pair of comets that are entering our sky in the next few weeks. Excuse me. What is a comet, essentially? It's a leftover from the creation of the solar system. Usually the nucleus is less than 30 miles across, made mostly of water and frozen gases. They travel around the sun in long elliptical orbits. Sometimes, very rarely, they'll come in from the interstellar dark, go around the sun, and go back out. But it's a hyperbolic orbit, as they call it, which is open-ended. We're very lucky. The shortest period comet I believe right now we have is only 3 Earth years long in its orbit. It's Comet Encke. It started in the 18th century, and every 3.3 years, like clockwork, it comes through. And the longer ones, like I said, everyone's familiar with Comet Halley. That'll be back again in 2061. So start taking the Gerafol now and the life extension drugs too to see it. I would love to be able to see it a second time. Anyway, and everything in between. When a comet approaches the sun, it begins sublimating, going directly from a solid to a gas, and the gases and dust form an ion tail from heating and solar radiation. And you can see the diagram on the mirror aspect on the right. A dust tail from rocky particles that are trapped in the ices of the nucleus can also form. The dust tail usually is highly reflective of sunlight. The gas tail basically is glowing. Again, it's glowing its own volition because of solar radiation. The big question, of course, is where do comets come from? Well, apparently there are two sources. The innermost one is called the Kuiper belt. It was named for the astronomer that theorized so many medium and long period comets seem to be concentrated in an area that by rights is just around the orbit of Pluto. So it was named for him. He was a planetary astronomer in the 30s to the 70s, I believe. The Oort cloud, named after Jan van Oort, is much, much longer. It's bigger, maybe as much as a half a light year or more, orbiting these large balls of rock and dust and ice, especially ice. The Kuiper belt is defined by Pluto. This is well beyond it. We may even have an exchange program going on between us and Alpha Centauri, which is the nearest star other than our sun, or maybe even further beyond. There are many billions of these objects. And when I see this picture, you see how crowded it appears to be. There's quite a distance between them. I'm saying to myself, in Star Trek, how do they get past this? They're doing warp 7, warp 8, which is up there hundreds of times the speed of light. They better have a pretty good deflector system. That's all I can say. Otherwise, it'd be a short shot, but we'll see. Okay. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll be able to find. So this is the anatomy of your average comet. It's got usually a hydrogen envelope, as you can see in the upper, your aspect, upper right. It lies beyond the coma, which is what we're going to describe in a moment. Mostly neutral hydrogen atoms. And size can go up to about 10 million kilometers just surrounding the object. Next, then coming in toward the nucleus is the coma. This is what makes the comet appear bright. Gas and dust can be up to 1,000 kilometers across. Before I go any further, sometimes what we have called before an antitail. An antitail basically is a trail of dust particles, but it's actually turned at almost 90 degrees usually to the main part of the comet here, of the coma. So it looks like you have two tails, one in the front, one in the back. In reality, they're both being blown back by the solar wind. The nucleus is the heart of the comet. Its ion is ice, dust, and rock. It can be a tenth of a kilometer to 10 kilometers and more in size. The coma makes the comet, at least around the nucleus, look very bright. Gas and dust can be up to 1,000 kilometers in diameter, more sometimes. The dust tail is broad, slightly curved, and usually a little yellowish because shining by reflected light from the sun. Small dust particles, we're talking very, very tiny stuff, maybe about a half micron all the way up to maybe about 15 or more. Size of the object of the dust tail can be just about a minute to 10 minutes, 10 million, excuse me, kilometers around it. An ion tail is thin, linear, and it's carried by the electric charges coming from the solar wind. Charged gas particles, that can be 10 million kilometers and more. Some of the great comets, I think there was one in the 19th century called the Great Comet, 1866, I believe. They figured that if it was right at the sun, it would stretch over, the ion tail would go all the way back out toward Jupiter. So it was quite an object. I would love to have something like that around this time with all our equipment, all our spacecraft. Okay, next. Okay, here are a couple bright ones. I'm going to kind of take a little bit of credit. I'm very proud of these shots here. Comet Westo is the first comet I ever photographed. This was up at Voorhees State Park. Matter of fact, so yeah, all three of these were photographed up at Voorhees because it's darker. I'll say it like it is. There's an area, if you go up to Voorhees State Park, New Jersey Astronomical Association has their observatory further up. But there's an overlook, which is now overgrown, even back then, back in '76. When we drove up there, we got a break in weather. I remember very distinctly, we had almost a week constantly having light to heavy snow. And then we finally got a break on the weekend. And the morning of March 7th, we're at the overlook. And we're waiting. We got our cameras set up. Camera tripods are freezing to death. And what happened was that we see this light. Now, somebody had mentioned to us that there was an airport, private airport down in the valley. And people were saying stuff I cannot repeat here, like company, including myself. And we saw this getting brighter and brighter, and then it detached itself. Suddenly, all those cameras suddenly got reset up very quickly. It's amazing. This was on Tri-X film. Anybody remember film?
Yeah.
Black and white. This is 400 ISO, and the exposure, if I remember correctly, was about 20 seconds. This is tripod mounted. There it was. You couldn't miss it. It was absolutely beautiful. And it would take 20 years before we get something similar, or at least close to it. Comet Yakutake on March 24th, 1996. This was it. You see the green glow with film now, and it's color film. But you can see the green glow from carbon ions being released into the gas tail. This dust tail stretched back almost 100 million miles. My longest on record. Comet Hale-Bopp. My eyes, when I think of a comet, this is the one I think of. This was magnificent. This is the one I wish I had my name on. But these, one amateur and one amateur turned professional swept this up back in 1996. I remember at cellophane looking at it just against the Milky Way because it was still coming in. I think it was like about at that time 70 or 75 million miles from the sun, and it had a pretty good cone around it. So on February 8th, 97, I photographed this with the 24-inch over here. To be quite honest with you, I wasn't even sure I'd be able to get an image. And suddenly I look at my slides, and this is what we had. You can see on this, the nucleus, and there are shells, essentially gas being blown out and caught by the solar wind and thrown back behind it, making up the tail. Now, what a tail. To me, this is a comet. This is what I wish I had my name on. You me, and 5 million other amateurs. You had the ion tail beautifully defined here, and then this beautiful dust tail. And this comet has been nicknamed as the comet that wouldn't go home, because for weeks on end, you could still see it, even when the main tails had shrunk back.
Months.
The nucleus was there.
Months.
Okay, I'll go.
I'm a Jenny Jump. I just kept photographing it.
Lucky. Well, you got to remember where I live. It's North Bergen, New Jersey, the light pollution capital of the galaxy. But we still were able to see this. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about that. Thank you. Comet Yakutaki, Bonnie and I came back from here, having a special, we had public come in, and this was setting. You could still see the head of the comet. Remember, we had a meteor not associated with it. Came in, I said, okay, it's a good way to end the evening. This guy over here, you couldn't miss it, even in the city. It was really amazing, even from here. And Hale-Bopp will not be back another, I believe it's another 4,000 or 5,000 years.
Yeah.
So those of us that saw it consider yourself very, very privileged. I'll be honest with you, I look at astronomy, look at these objects and such, and I think it's a privilege just to be able to see what we're seeing, to understand for the most part what it is. It's an incredible thing, and an incredible responsibility to bring it to the public. That's why AAI is here. Next.
Al,
Yeah.
Yakutaki, when it was at its best,
Mm-hmm.
out of Jenny Joe, I was getting like a 70-degree temp.
Yep.
But then when I went out of Pennsylvania, darker skies, I don't even know, 80, 90.
Easily.
It was really warm, really.
And you can see in here, this trailed out because it was not really on the pole. And you're right, I remember that, but Voorhees, it went off the film.
Yeah.
So, you know, it had some nerve. We should get a whole palette.
Al, I got a
Yeah.
question for you.
Okay, go.
On the Comet you did with the Tri-X, did you push that to 800 or 1200 or shot it at 400?
That was 400.
Oh, all right.
Okay. I'm giving away my photo secrets over here, I guess. But yeah, that was done 400 ISO, and I remember that because that was a joint effort. I photographed the thing, and Jim Flood, who was still at the time was I think in his senior year in high school, he had commandeered the dark room in the high school. He had chemicals all over the place. He was able to make it work. And then we used in a large one. We used to have a dark room here. Now it's a storage area or some computer servers over there. But we could have done it here. We didn't. This is the last really bright comet. Now, this is in the northern hemisphere. The southern hemisphere, over the last 25 years or so, they've had some incredible stuff. That's very unfair, in my opinion. You know, come on, guys. You know, you got all the great sky down there, and then you throw comets in. Makes you want to move down to New Zealand or something. Well, anyway, this was the last bright comet in 1997. This is on April 12th from Voorhees State Park. ISO of 800, 135 millimeter lens. And I got to admit, I cheated a little bit. I kind of cropped it a little bit when I scanned it. This is operating at f4 and 30-second exposure. And I looked at this, and to this day, I still look at the original slide, and I look at this, and I said, oh my gosh, I need another one of these. It's been a while, too long. But what an incredible thing to see.
So Al,
Yeah.
Hale-Bopp was so bright, you could see it from inside your house.
Yeah.
Through the window.
Yeah.
When it was, you know, where it a lit house.
Well,
you
you were observing out here. I'm in North Bergen. I can cast shadows just from the sky. So you were lucky, but we were lucky too. We could see it. Even against all the light pollution. You gotta remember the Meadowlands is straight outside. When it was setting, you'd still see it. Still amazing. I need another one of these, preferably with my name on it. I would write my name across the sky like Ikeas said. He wanted to write his name across the sky, so he discovered a comet by heaven in 1965. He did. Next, please. Okay, so we have two new comets that are coming into the sky in late April this year. This is Pan-STARRS, or C 2025 R3. The way that they're doing this designation now, you can't do anything without a good scorecard. But it's the year, first or second half of the month, and the third one from that time, Pan-STARRS. And these are taken again. They're from late. It'll be in late April 2026 when this comes in. And next. Okay, and where to look? This is it. Late April 2026, closest to the Earth on the 26th of April, and this continues on through here, 11th of April, 20th, 27, look where it is up here, nice, relatively high in Cetus. Now, hopefully, this is going to hold true to what the theory is saying, where it's going to still be reasonably bright. You should be able to see it maybe from here, definitely from Voorhees, and points, maybe even Jenny Jump. I don't know. Well, next, we'll go to the next one. And then another new comet. We're getting filthy with comets now. This is Comet C 2026 A1 maps. I don't have this is an abbreviation. I don't have all four names. I apologize for that. This could become a really bright object in the western sky in late March, early April. So when this finally clears up, maybe around April 5th through the 23rd, we may see this following the sun going to sunset. We may see it from the front porch as we face Penley Avenue, off 1 and 9 North. Okay, next. Okay, so how to observe. See, I didn't know I was going to be talking pretty much to the choir over here. I thought we might have some visitors and such, so I set it up this way. How to observe, of course, try to get away from city lights. Look west about 45 minutes after sunset and use binoculars. People have asked, what's the best binocular? And I still say that the best binocular was the first one I had, which was 7 power of 35 millimeter. I then grew up a little and got a 7 by 50s. And now my favorites are 10 by 50s. But the point is still, you need that nice large front lens. It should be well corrected and not that expensive. And if you don't have one, I strongly urge you to get one. You need a red filtered flashlight after all. You've driven out all the way up to Voorhees or to Jenny Jump or points in Pennsylvania or away from the city. And you're going to go out there with a white light flashlight. If there are other observers out there, they'll probably tackle you. So get a red filtered flashlight. If anybody wants them, let me know, because they're not filtered. They're LED, red LEDs, and they're solar amps. So anyway, the charts that like you saw before here, and then maybe photo with a smartphone on tripod. It might be super high tech, or you can just put a DSLR or a standard film SLR. I still like them. I cut my eye teeth on a Nikon FE2, and then went over to Canon, and I tried their 7 Ti, and I'm not happy with it, so I went back to the 3 Ti, which is more versatile in my personal opinion. Your results may vary, but maybe even photo with a smartphone. That's the latest thing lately. Okay, I think I got one more. Let's see. So in closing, I love this. A great quote. With all due respect, I'm not really that much of a fan of David Levy. I don't know why. There's something grates on me with it, but I will say this: he did a great He's done a great service for astronomy, both professional and amateur, discovering with the Shoemakers and by himself, I believe, comets, which add to our knowledge. He's a good author. I really recommend his books, and it's just maybe it's grating nerves. I have no idea, but the guy's terrific. He said it right. Comets are like cats. They both have tails, and they do what they want. So we may have a good pair of bright comets coming in. One may work. One may be just a big fuzzball. I'm hoping one of them has a tail that I can put in my gallery of comets, particularly since we haven't had a really super bright one in the Northern Hemisphere the better part of 20 years. Okay, next. Okay, good viewing to all of you, and good luck. And I hope that if this comet coming in, these two comets coming in, they really do a good job. I hope to have a little friendly competition, because I'm going to try to photograph it too, and I encourage everybody here. If you got a smartphone, you can kick the ISO up beyond anything we used to have in film, a tripod. If you have a standard DSLR or even a film camera, I still like the film. The color balance is better in my eyes. I don't know. But maybe you get a picture like this, or you can blow me out of the water, and I'd be happy to get blown out of the water. And I say good evening to all of you, and good luck.